The main problem with neocons, of all religions, just to be totally clear, is that not only are they not on board with the interests of the majority of our country, they work in opposition to those interests. Wars you don't need, mass migration into this country and the West, and that would include Canada and New Zealand and Australia, Western Europe and the United States. That migration, which I think even liberals would acknowledge has not been good for anybody. In fact, it's destroyed these countries because a sovereign country, has control over its borders. Can't just change the population in a generation. Can't do that. That's all been abetted by the neocons, 100%. But above all, what is degrading to our country, bad for our strategic objectives, and just rotten for the nation is the lying, the nonstop lying, the refusal to be straightforward about your aims. What are you actually arguing for? You never know. Because lying is totally acceptable among neocons, completely. You always cloak your real objective. You saw this in the 12-day war. Oh, no, we're just going to get rid of their nuclear program because it's an imminent threat to the West. Okay, it's an imminent threat. And some people piped up and said, I don't know, this looks like the opening salvos in a regime change war. Oh, shut up, racist. Of course, it turned out to be. But nobody ever apologizes. Well, actually, you're right. You caught us the first time, and now we know because we're in a regime change war or an attempted regime change war. No, just keep lying. Just say whatever it takes, whatever's expedient to get to whatever the goal is, but you never know what the goal is because they'll never tell you. It drives people crazy. It makes people conspiratorial. That's the other problem with it. So many conspiracy theories. Well, there happen to be quite a few conspiracies. What's a conspiracy? Well, it's a group effort to achieve something whose goal is never stated in public. That's what a conspiracy is. And there's obviously a lot of that. Here's one example. This is from Fox News yesterday, one of its top shows. Here are two neocons talking about what they think the U.S. should do next in Iran.
Hopefully, if we can get arms in the hands of the people, they'll take over.
We have to arm the people. Because if we're not going to do regime change, they need to have the ability to do it. Reagan did it in Afghanistan. He did it in Nicaragua. He did it in Honduras. He did it in Angola. Donald Trump can do exactly the same thing. Somehow, some way, those people need to be able to get armed and need to take their future into their own hands.
It's like they can't even hear themselves. The other problem is, and one of the reasons that you have to laugh at all the conspiracy talk about the neocons is a lot of them are not super bright. They don't really know very much. So here you have that guy just said, Reagan did it in Afghanistan and Nicaragua. So what happened? Well, let's see. When Reagan did it in Afghanistan, he sent weapons to a group of freedom fighters called the Mujahideen, Islamic warriors. This was back in the 80s when we were on the side of Islamic extremism against the Soviets. And now you fast forward 40 years and who's in charge of Afghanistan? Well, Islamic extremists, the Taliban. Nicaragua, 40 years ago, we sent arms to the Contras. A lot of people supported it, including me, by the way, to be clear. Because the Soviets were making inroads in Nicaragua. They're a funding group called the Sandinistas, led by a man called Daniel Ortega. And we were going to regime change Daniel Ortega. So 40 years later, who runs Nicaragua? Anyone got Wikipedia? Oh, Daniel Ortega. So whether you support it or not, it didn't work. It didn't work. You're pointing to those as successes? Really? Countries that 40 years later are run by the Taliban and Daniel Ortega? And that's the argument for sending arms to the opposition?